Hello everyone and welcome to an advanced Excel tutorial session. So in today's session we'll learn how to return multiple values against a single criteria. We all know about Vlookup and how it returns a value against a given criteria, but Vlookup fails when we have to return multiple criterias. Let us understand the limitation of Vlookup. So I've prepared a small data set with four people and their scores. Now if I want to return the score of Ram, it is very easy with Vlookup, but it will only return the first value. As you all know, VLOOKUP only returns the first value. So you see that when we write VLOOKUP, it returns the score of 74, which is over here. But if we drag this down, it will again return 74. But I want to get 93. And then again, if I put it down over here and write RAM, it again returns 74, but I want to return 57 this time. So this is the limitation of VLOOKUP, as VLOOKUP only returns the value which comes first in the array. So how can we overcome this? In order to overcome this, we'll write an array formula and then we'll use multiple small formulas, combining them inside that array formula. So at first it might be a bit intimidating because the length of the formula would be a bit long, and you might be afraid of it. But let me tell you that it's important to understand how that formula works, and then it will be very easy to use. So in this tutorial we'll use for some small formulas like if, small, row, column and index. So out of this, while writing the formula, I'll explain how each of these individual formula works as well. If you want to know more about index, I have made a tutorial before this explaining the index function in detail. So let us now move into the data set and write the formula. So here we have the data set and we'll see what the formula achieves. So if you look at this cell over here, I5, and we have the formula written over here. So as you can see, it's a big formula. One point to note here is you can see the curly brackets, which shows that it is an array function. So we'll see what this formula achieve. I'll copy this formula to this cell over here below, and again to the cell over here below, and again to a cell over here below. So now what it does is it returns the three scores of RAM from the data set over here. So as you can see, the first score of RAM is 74, the second score of RAM is 93, and the third score of RAM is 57, and this is where it ends, so it gives an error in the fourth case. So the formula basically returns multiple values against a single criteria. The criteria here is RAM, and the multiple values here is the score from this table. So now let us see how it returns the value for Sham as well. We just copy it and paste over here and again over here. So you see again the first score of Ram is 60, Sham is 66, then it's 72, and then it's 45, and on the third cell it gives error. Similarly, it can return multiple values for any criteria. So this is where the difference between VLOOKUP and this formula is. So VLOOKUP always returns the first value, whereas if we want to return multiple values, we use this formula. So friends, before I explain to you how the array function works, let me explain to you row, column and small. So a row formula basically returns the reference of a row. So for example, if I give row E13, it will return 13. Similarly, column function returns the reference of a column. So if I give column E13, it will return 5, because it is the fifth column in the whole Excel sheet, A, B, C, D, E, fifth. So that this is how the row and column function works. How is it different from rows? Rows returns the total number of rows in an array. So as you see over here, if we look at B15 to B16, there are 12 rows. So this is the function of rows. Similarly, the function of columns is it returns the number of columns in an array. So if I look at from an array of H11 to O11, probably it will return 8, because there are 8 columns in an array. So this is how row and column works. Now if we look at small, Small returns the kth smallest value in an array. So if I look at this array of scores and I want to find the first smallest value in that array, I write like this, and it returns 41, which is 41 is the lowest smallest value in this whole array. Similarly, if I put 2 over here, it will return 45, which shows that 45 is the second smallest value in the array. So we'll use this in the formula and let us understand how this works. So the array function over here is a combination of multiple individual functions, and at times it gets a bit difficult to understand how this formula works. So I tried to find out the best possible way to explain to all of you how this works and give it a bit of thought. I came to the conclusion that using the evaluate formula is the best way to explain to you this formula. So let us see how this formula works. We open the evaluate formula tab, and here it appears on the screen, and we'll see step by step how this formula works. In the evaluate formula tab, the underlying portion shows us the formula that is being evaluated. So when we first click on evaluate, you see that the criteria RAM is being evaluated with the array from B5 to B16. So this is not very difficult to understand, and we put evaluate once again. So what the second step does is, wherever the criteria matches the array, it returns the value true. So that's where the if function has been executed. So as you can see in the first part, RAM matches, so it's returned true. Then again it will match in 1 2 3 4 5. So true, false, 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 true. So this is how it has worked. Now we have the second part to it, wherein the row function will be executed as it is being shown by the underline. So when we put on evaluate, it returns the row values of the array B5 to B16. So it returns the value 5, 6, etc. And after this, you will see that the next function that is going to be executed is -4. Why I have put -4 is because I want to return the values over here as 1 2 3 4. So that is why I have put -4, which has 4 rows on top of it, just to return the values 1 2 3 4 for this array. So when we click on evaluate, we see that the values of the rows has been returned, and also the cases where RAM matches the criteria, so true. So the next step is very important because it will execute the if function, and as we'll see when we click evaluate, that it will return the row numbers wherever the value is true. So after the execution of this function, you see that it has returned 1 5 and 9 wherever the value was true. So it's important to understand that it has finally executed the position of RAM in the whole array. So it is in first position, fifth position, and ninth position. So that's the first achievement that we have done using this formula. And now let us see the next part of it, which is the rows, which is underlined over here. So it's very simple. It's used to create the drag and drop formula. So as you can see that it's written as h5 to h5, which means that it has only one row, one cell in the array, so it will return the value 1. But when we drag it, we'll see it at a later stage. When we look at the third function, we'll see how this comes into picture. But evaluating this returns 1. So now the small function will be executed, which is within this array return the first smallest value. So overall it will return 1 over here. It has returned 1, and now the index function will be executed, which now becomes very simple, wherein the index, the array is defined, the row number is also executed, which is 1, and the column number is 2 in that data set. So as you can see, the column number over here is 2. So once we evaluate this, it returns 74. So this is how the overall formula works, and we'll see once again how this works using the evaluate formula for this third row over here. So let us understand how this works. So the first step is same. It evaluates RAM within the given criteria. Again, I click on evaluate. It returns the value of true wherever RAM matches the criteria. Again, the row part is same, so it will return this values 5, 6, 7, 8 as before. With next execution will be -4, so it returns the value 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., which is same as before again. Now the next if function to be evaluated. So over here again it's the same. Now is the difference that comes. So if you look at the function that is underlined over here, it is rows h5 to h7 because I have dragged the formula from over here till over here. So that's it. That is why it has dragged to h7, and it will return 3 over here. So if we evaluate, it returns 3 because there are 3 rows, and I've done this because I want to have the third value of the same criteria. So now the small function will be executed and it will return the third smallest value, which is 9 within this given range. So if you look at this, it returns 9, and index function will then go to the array over here, go to the 9th row, which is over here, and the second column, and return 57. So friends, this is how the formula works. I think I've been able to explain it to you, and we'll also write it once again now, and see how we can write it from scratch. So before we learn to write the formula from scratch, I just like to emphasize on the array function once again. So if you look at this function over here, I if I just put enter over here and then drag, it will not work because just putting enter does not make it an array function. So what we have to do is we have to put control shift and enter together, which brings the curly bracket signs to this formula. So now if we drag it over here, we can get the array function. So this is important to note, and this is how you create array functions. Let us now try to write the function using the logic that we have learned. So I've created a table wherein I want to put the 3, 4 or whatever scores of different people from this table over here. So at each step I'll put an enter so that we understand the different steps. First of all, I'll put the if criteria over here. So this is the criteria that I want to look up for, and I freeze the column over here because I want to drag this at a later stage in this table. So this is the range from where I want to check, and I freeze it because I don't want to move it. So if this is true, what value should it return? It should return the row numbers. So the row and the reference is again this array, and I freeze it because I do not want to change it. And it will, if I'll put a -2 because there are two rows above it, so I want to return the value 1. So that's the first step, and I put an enter. So let's not give too much thought on why this value is 1. And now we write the second part of it, which is the small function. So the small, where the array I have already picked up, so I'll now put the value, the smallest value that I want to pick up, which is basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I write column over here, and I put over here, and I put an enter. So I will freeze F2 because when I drag I do not want F2 to move, so it will drag to F2 to F3 to F4 and it will return 1 2 3 accordingly. So this is how it will work. And now we'll just write the last step of it, which is the index, and we'll put the array over here. Again I'll freeze it so that it does not move. Now my row number is selected from my earlier formula, and now I have to do is I have to put the column number over here, which is 2 in the array, which is 2, second column in the array. So I put 2 and I put an enter and it returns 74. But if I drag this over here, it will not work because it's not yet an array function. So what I'll do is I'll click on it, I'll push Control Shift Enter, and then the array function is created. So now we can drag it to anywhere in this cell. If we copy this from over here to over here, we see that it has returned the second score of RAM, which is 92. If we copy this formula from over here to over here, we see that it has returned the second score for Jadoo, which is 47. And if we fill the overall table, this is how it works. And if we move to score 4, I think it will throw an error. So let's see how this works. So the three scores of RAM is 74, 93, 57. So we have 74, we have 93, and we have 57. So that is how this formula works, and you saw how we can write it from scratch. I hope now you will have to no longer worry about picking up multiple values from a single criteria where VLOOKUP fails. And I hope I've been able to explain it to you. Again, do practice it a bit with a small data set, and once you understand the logic, it's very easy to use. And you can watch the evaluator and the way I write the formula over and over again to master this. And I'm sure it will be helpful to you in building dashboards and fetching values. So do let me know your thoughts on this, whether if you feel that this tutorial has been useful and if I've been able to explain it to you properly. And if you like this tutorial, do like this video and subscribe to my channel. And I'll look forward to hearing your feedback in the comment section. Thank you again for listening to this video, and I hope it has been helpful. Thank you.